you check the children?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And you got Jaime and Fuego here.
And we are here to review the brand new release, upcoming release for you guys. We are reviewing it about a week early because we got to see it about a week early at a special Q&A screening. But we are here to talk about Strange Darling. Now, this one is one that we actually did react to, Robert and I, a couple of weeks back. We reacted to a trailer for it, and we were both like, this looks really good. And I didn't remember a thing about that trailer when I sat down to watch this movie, other than I knew that Kyle Gallner was going to be in it, and that's about it. But I sat down and I let this film wash over me, and you know, we always do our overall thoughts right out of the gate here, and my overall thought is that this is my favorite film of 2024 so far. Wow. We are here August 15th, and this movie, I loved it. I thought it was so good. It subverted expectations on so many different levels. I loved how it unfolded. It's basically a young Tarantino at work here, in my opinion. This had such Tarantino flair, and I was a big fan of the acting, the way it played out, the structure, which, you know, caught me off guard right at the beginning, because it starts off saying a thriller told in 6 chapters, and then it starts chapter 3. And I was like, what the fuck? I like giggled. I was like, what? And I laughed. I was the only one in the audience. I was like, oh shit, I gotta shut up, because it caught me off guard. I was like, all right, it's one of those, right? Okay, cool. So it kept me on my back foot the entire movie. But the parts, like at one point I did figure out what was coming, and I was like, oh, and then the way they kind of had it play out and everything, I loved this movie. I can't wait to talk more about it, and yet we're not going to do spoilers, because this is the film that you absolutely have to go in knowing as little about as you possibly can. Agreed, Fuego?
Absolutely, man. I mean, even at the beginning of this, you know, there was no trailers or anything because it was a special screening, but JD Molnar, I'm trying to remember the guy's name, but Molnar gets on the screen and he's like, if you enjoy the movie, please hit social media. We want to spread the word about this film, you know, and the fact that it's going to be in theaters as opposed to going directly to a streaming service or something. But he was like, please do not spoil this movie. And to piggyback on what you said, the structuring of this movie was what I liked the most, because of the fact that there are certain things that are revealed throughout the timely sort of playing out of all these things. And if it wasn't told in the fragmented sense, it wouldn't have had the same sort of impact that it did if it was just kind of a to B to C, to, you know, just like sequential order sort of bit. I felt like that was one of the most interesting things that kept some of the mystery about what's going down in this. I thankfully didn't see a trailer for this. All that I had seen was Stephen King getting on X Twitter and praising the screener of this that he was sent, and, you know, just how impressed he was with it. And man, talk about a dynamite performance. Gallner is great in everything. I've seen him. The Passenger last year was awesome, and, you know, I mean, even he was one of the brighter spots of the Nightmare remake. I mean, he's been in so much stuff. Scream 5, one of the bright spots of that too. But dude, the girl steals the show in this movie. Willa Fitzgerald, I think, is her name, and dynamite performance, like locked in, man. I was just thrilled and fascinated by, you know, the nuances of her character and just how everything, as we kind of understand her throughout the course of the film, and some of her motivations and everything, and her entanglement with the Kyle Gallner character. I thought it was terrific. They had great energy together on screen. It's tough because eggshells, man, you know, because you think things are happening one way between the two of them, and then there's certain things that are flipped around, and, you know, it is very much kind of it's very great in its reveal as far as keeping the audience engaged, but yet still on their toes and kind of trying to guess where things are actually all going to be lining up. So yeah, I liked it a lot.
And so you know, we're going to be respectful of that and just say that the movie starts out with a text that basically says that this is based on the true story of a particular serial killer that, you know, went on a rampage from this part of the U.S. to this part
It's
of the
like
U.S.
Denver up until like somewhere in Oregon or something.
Right,
So
yeah.
kind of bopped around that area of the country.
And it says that this is depicting, you know, a dramatization of the last number of murders in this serial killer's, whatever, reign or whatever you want to call it.
And it starts out with a character being responding to a question, you know, about serial killers.
Yeah,
at the very
exactly.
beginning of the movie.
And then it cuts to our main character running for the opening credits in slow motion directly at the camera.
To the cover of Love Hurts by Nazareth, which pops up throughout the movie. And sometimes darkly comedic fashion, and that's the thing. I really enjoyed the blend of tones in this, because there is very serious bits, there's sexy bits, there's also bits that are just very, very darkly comedic, which I appreciated about it as well, man. And that's where I can see the comparisons to the Tarantino tone that you were mentioning, because it does have that vibe of bits of ultra-violence and then some levity with some comedy, and then also
the structure alone,
romanticisms and stuff. The structure for sure, yeah.
You know, because it's told out of order. You know, it goes like chapter 3 to chapter 5 to chapter 1 to chapter 4 to chapter 2 to chapter 6 kind of thing. And
but I still feel like doing it in that disjointed order gave those little vignettes almost the pieces it gave them more impact telling it out of order.
But that's what's so brilliant to me. This was like Memento brilliance as far as the way that it was told, right? Because Memento, it's telling the story backwards, but it gets more and more impactful as you go. And this movie is telling it out of order, but it gets more and more impactful as you go. It's very brilliantly done. And so just to get into the story of it all, the long and short of it is it's about this woman who decides to, you know, have a one-night stand with this dude that she's just met. And there's more below the surface to him than we think. And, you know, there is...
it gets very kinky.
It does. It gets very kinky.
Very kinked out.
But that's part of... But that reveal in and of itself is a twist at one point.
Yeah.
Like we won't say anything beyond that.
Keeps you on your
right?
toes, man. You know, because right when you think one twist is one thing, then there's another. Then there's another thing that makes you. It kind of puts it in different context. So
again, that's why I say I was on my back foot the whole time. Because I was constantly like, I didn't know quite where things were going, and I absolutely love that about it. So let's just dive directly into the acting. As you said,
Willow was awesome.
Willow was fantastic. Oh no. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to check it right now. I meant to check it.
She looked familiar.
Was she not the Sidney Prescott character from the Scream TV series?
I never watched the Scream TV series.
Willa Fitzgerald. I'm pretty sure.
I believe that's her name, Willa Fitzgerald.
Okay, let me just see. Yeah, yep. She was the lead in the first 2 seasons of the Scream TV series. She was the innocent Sidney Prescott character.
That was when they were using the other mask and everything.
Yeah, she's also been in Reacher. She was also in The Fall of the House of Usher. She's been in quite a bit.
Oh, maybe that's what I was kind of recognizing her from, was that the Flanagan series on Netflix, right?
Yeah,
because it would have been a more minor character, but
no. But most of the people that'll see this will know her from the Scream TV series. Yeah, she played Emma, I guess, in Emma Duval in the Scream TV series, the main character. So that's what I love, because she was the innocent, you know, virgin character in the Scream TV series, to a very, you know, like you said, it gets into kinky realms here. So, but we won't say beyond that. But she was fantastic. You know, she's the terrifying. Movie, she had to be terrified, and she was fantastic. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I loved that.
It's an electric performance, man. It most definitely is, dude. I was just I mean, she had me like, you know, to quote Dumb and Dumber, tractor beam, you know, like right in there, man. And I mean, Gallner I've seen in so many different things, so that kind of goes without saying. And, you know, as I mentioned in the overall thoughts, the interplay between the two of them and the shifting of power dynamics, you know, in the bedroom and whatever else and stuff, like it was just, it was a fascinating character study too, you know, just amongst people as far as because she says at one point how she's like, yeah, I don't typically do this at all, and then starts like questioning him about stuff, kind of trying to feel him out and whatnot. And I don't know, man. It was just, and it's very dialogue heavy a lot of the time, and yet but
in the best kind of way. This movie screamed by.
Way.
It screamed by. Like the first two parts, each played within. They were each about 10 minutes long, and like
it's a brisk right around 90 minutes.
It is, yeah. It's about 90 minutes. It's perfect length. It's just so good. So, but sticking with the acting, the mountain people that we met. Were great.
Begley Jr. and Barbara Hershey, right?
Yeah. Like they're the hippies.
They're just old hippies.
Yeah.
Dude, and talk about comedic. Their Sunday meals.
Oh my God, that one shot. The one shot of it being built. The breakfast being built was amazing. Like it's such good filmmaking. I gotta seek out what this dude, his other movie. I have not seen his other movie.
I think it was like a short and maybe a couple other things, but he doesn't.
Was this his feature debut?
I don't know if it was his feature debut, but his IMDb
I think he had one other one.
Very thin.
All right.
Very thin IMDb.
Because, dude, I will seek out what he made, because this was incredible. And, like, even from shot choice, at one point, he has a shot of when she, like, breaks off from him on the bed and, like, scoots to the side of the table to do a bit of drugs. But the camera's just straight down on this, and, like, it's like, not necessarily so concerned with pretty shot composition as it is for story-driven shot composition. You know what I mean? Like, it felt kind of down and dirty, because it was starting to get down and dirty, and it wasn't like pretty cinematography. It was fucking, sneaking cocaine cinematography. You know what I mean? Like, I was so impressed with the filmmaking aspects of this. I guess that's a good segue into the filmmaking.
It is.
What did you think of that?
Dude, having just taken that and finished that Hitchcock class, some of the shot composition that you were mentioning, when there's this one bit where, as opposed to having her in the forefront, this almost like extreme close up with the drugs and everything in focus, and then Gallner out of focus in the back, like, I'm not sure what sort of lenses or blending or whatever they were doing. It was both, despite the spacing being so significant.
That was a digital composition. That was digital.
The way it was framed up, though, it looked rad, dude. It really
it was
did.
It harkened back
all that stuff in camera.
It harkened back to a lot of noir filmmaking techniques. I feel like,
and that's why I was making the Hitchcock comparison, because especially some of his stuff in the 30s and 40s.
It starts and ends with black and white, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I love at the end how it fades. How the color fades, and this is something that I would really like to spoil, but I won't. But,
no, of course not.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to talk about it off camera, because something at the very end of the movie with a character just like holding a position reminded me of something that we saw in a film just a few years ago. Okay. Yeah. I know exactly what you're referring to. It was.
I know exactly what you're referring to.
Comparably impressive.
I was like, this is her.
Yeah,
blank moment.
And maybe even a little gnarlier because of
much
the
gnarlier.
Of that
I gotta say,
I
gotta say, without spoiling anything, this movie did bring me to tears in the very last shot of the film, only because, like, it was such a complicated film.
You see the gears turning.
The gears were turning, and I put myself in that position, and it scared the fuck out of me, because you just see everything as it's happening, and like you see everything kind of shift and like downshift and stuff like that, and I'm just like, I was overwhelmed with emotion in like the best kind of way. It's the same thing that happened at the end of I'll Take Your Dead. Different kind of emotion at the end, but still I felt, if we had seen this in the theater, I would have had to have sat still as the credits rolled to compose myself, because I was I was so in it, and the acting, especially in that last scene, was just fucking Oscar worthy to me. Oscar worthy,
100%.
On the level of Sydney Sweeney with her, or wait, who was the one that freaked out when she was getting possessed?
Immaculate.
It was Sydney Sweeney in Immaculate. No. Am I thinking of First Omen? Which am I thinking of?
If you're thinking of First Omen with Tiger Free, the girl
No.
from Servant,
Oh,
where
yeah,
she gets
maybe.
possessed.
Yeah, on the
Because
side
at
of the
end
road.
Immaculate had Sweeney screaming.
Right. That
and
it's
that
it's
whole
so it's
bit.
that
Yeah.
intensity as well as the getting possessed from the First Omen. Like it's that sort of intense acting moment to me.
Indeed, it's catharsis coming, but just hitting you like a sack of bricks to the back of the head, man.
The
And
realization at one point to like just, but also the acceptance and like so good.
Yeah, going from smiles to like
Well, yeah, let's
fear
just
to just all of these
all of
different
it,
things,
all
you
of
know?
it, all of it. So
man.
good.
And the other thing that I like so much about it in making the Hitchcock comparison, because after watching so many of his movies, I can see when directed. Hitch was very much as
Hitch.
you always remind me about show don't tell.
Yes.
Show don't tell.
Yep.
And there are a lot of scenes in this movie, especially early on, no dialogue, characters being chased in vehicles, the woods, things of that nature, and there's no dialogue. It's just seeing people doing things, the progression of plot without having, and then it makes a total pivot that keeps you just as engaged with super dialogue heavy sections too. So it was very much the best of both worlds in the fact that Molnar showed that he can do both, and that he wrote and directed this. You know, he can have something that just drives the plot forward, keeps you on edge, you know, without any speaking at all, and then get other bits that are getting you into the pathos of these characters and those dialogue heavy scenes. The juggling act was just splendidly handled, man.
Yeah, it's funny. I was searching for someone to talk to about this the first night, and I saw that Jason Smith on Sinister Cinema posted his review, and all it said in the thumbnail was "wow." And I messaged him. I was like, "Oh my God, Strange Darling was so good." He's just like, "It's probably my tops of the year." I was like, "Fucking me too." It's so good. Like, I love this film. And I mean, again, filmmaking was phenomenal. Was so good. The here, kitty, kitty, kitty. The filmmaking of all that, like, was so good. Like, Kyle Gallner was incredible. Okay, so let me reel it in. Cinematography was awesome. It was utilized
just talking about,
beautifully and utilized to help tell the story. Not just like, it's not just utilized so that we can see the story. It's utilized to help tell the story, right? Do you understand the difference there, right? You know what I'm going
big
for?
time. Yeah, that's what Hitch was about, man.
Yeah, Hitch. And sound design was phenomenal as well. Effects, when we got them, also phenomenal. Not tremendously a ton of effects, but when we got them, they were great. So like this is just firing on all cylinders. Yeah. This is like golden independent cinema. Who even made this? Like, who put this out?
It's being put out by Miramax, but I'm assuming he made it, probably, you know, found his financing and then found and, you know, acquired distribution through Miramax for it. So this feels like something that would have been put out by a Neon or an A24.
I was going to say the same fucking thing.
That it's got that auteur, avant-garde, elevated horror, whatever, which, you know, people, it's got a stigma to it with certain horror fans.
I would say that this
like
could qualify as that. Yeah, this absolutely is like, yes, I would agree with you. Yeah, elevated version of this story.
It's the epitome of that classification, but when it's really warranted and when it's done very impressively and in an innovative fashion. And I mean, with regards to the music, I said it earlier, you know, the Love Hurts cover, man. There's
great.
a bit of dialogue and it doesn't spoil anything. This is our song.
Yeah.
You're going to hear this song. And I was laughing. It was so funny, but so twistedly funny. Like,
it's so true, though. Like,
when
you hear this song, you're going to think of me.
You're going to think of me. Yeah.
It's like, you will. Like, I love it. Yeah, it's so fucking good, dude. I have a feeling that after our discussion, you might come away with this like a bit higher in your ranking, because you said it was in your top 10. This is easily my number one. Like, I don't, like you said, stop motion is higher for you, but I like
stop motion's my favorite, but I need to revisit it. I started my list on Letterboxd.
I probably should revisit it too, because I thought it was okay. I just didn't love it that much. But this one fucking just knocked my socks off.
Yeah.
All right, awkward
man.
pause. All right.
No, because I'm just I'm replaying certain scenes in my head even as we're talking about this, and it was really the levity of the humor as well that really just added that extra little.
Well, and when the turn happens, and you're like, oh, Oh.
Pinto, and she's like, seriously? Or even the bit where he's like, he has a gun. He's like, so do I. There were bits that made me laugh out loud, but yet also bits that shocked me. That, I mean, it was just such an awesome amalgamation of a lot of different tones and vibes, and they all blended together
movie.
So masterfully.
I'm
man.
like,
yeah, you are getting me more in your camp as we're discussing it more.
It's just
probably
it's so
creeping
unique in the space. It's so unique in the space, and I absolutely love that. Like it kept me off my toe. Like I didn't going into this is one of those, the first experience watching it. It's never going to be as good as your first time watching it. It's one of those movies. I will say it's one of those movies. But that speaks to its quality, right? The Sixth Sense is a classic because you'll never be able to rewatch it the first time. Fallen, same thing. You'll never be able to rewatch it the first time. I would even say the Kevin Bacon Spirits movie. What is that one?
The Stir of Echoes?
Yeah, Stir of Echoes. You know, that you'll never be able to watch it the first time. This is one of those. This is absolutely one of those.
The
films.
Game is the one that I
Yes, absolutely.
David Fincher's The Game. Yeah.
His best movie, in my opinion. It has yet to be surpassed. Yep.
100%, man. Yeah, I agree.
So there you go, guys. That's Strange Darling.
Strange Darling. Yeah.
Make time for it.
Theaters next weekend.
This is not the movie that you necessarily have to see in the theater, but this is the movie you want to see as soon as you can see it. Avoid spoilers. Avoid anyone talking about it. Go and experience it for yourself, because this movie is one of those ones that you'll watch and afterwards you'll be like, okay, I'm glad I spent $15 to experience that. You know, like I just feel like that's going to be the case for most people.
Yeah, and especially if you want to support innovative, lower budget horror and thrillers and things of that nature. I mean, you can't go wrong with this one, man. Now, obviously, we have set a level of expectation and precedence now by gushing about this. Yeah. Oh, and of course, there's going to be someone like, I predicted this, blah, 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 that. So, you know, whatever, guys, you know.
Give me a 2-timer with that.
I agree with you right there.
All right.
Man, that's Strange Darling for you.
So thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
And gracias, I've been Jaime Fuego.
And tomorrow we'll be back with our spoiler discussion for Alien Romulus, and then Sunday we'll be back doing a live discussion of all the horror news from the last couple of months. So thank you guys very much for watching, and remember, stay scared.
Stay scared.